Hey, I wanted to get this back into your hands. It's been quite some time since the last time we had this discussion, but wanted to talk about the power of leverage in premium finance for you and your design. And again, we've been through this before, but let's use this video as a complete reset of what the concept is, and we can then go from there. So Archimedes said, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. Remember, the four arbitrages that we're talking about are: one, you can earn more money on your assets than the cost it is to borrow the money from the bank. Number two, the internal buildup of the cash value in the policy, the index crediting method of the policy, over time historically has earned more than the cost of borrowing the money from the bank. Number three, these premiums that we're borrowing from the bank are income tax free. If you were to pay the premiums out of pocket, and I'll show you this here in a second, you have to earn the money, pay the tax to pay the premium, and depending on the state that you live in, I think in your state it's going to be close to 50%. And then always the death benefit is income tax free and higher than the outstanding loan balance. So I want to reset this design for you. I did a $5 million design, a $10 million design, and a $15 million design. We can do more if you want to. Again, this is resetting the stage, and I want to focus on the additional gap collateral that's needing to be pledged. But if we did a $5 million policy, just a straight $5 million policy, and we did a term insurance for you, again, for your age, which is 51 this year, for a $5 million term insurance, $8,000 for 10 years, $14,000 for 20 years, $26,000 for 30 years, every year for 30 years. Less than 2% of all term insurance policies have paid a premium. I did a video on that. You can watch that in the YouTube channel. If you're going to self-pay, Index Universal Life self-pay to match the income distribution policy, our premium finance design is projecting illustrated close to $200,000 a year of tax-free distributions. If you wanted to get close to that in an index policy, you would have to put in $173,000 a year after tax dollars, $173,000 a year for 10 years. That's the equivalent of nearly $350,000 a year of pre-tax income, just to get a $5 million policy that will pay out close to $200,000 a year starting in 15 years. If you wanted to use a whole life policy, you'd have to put in $275,000 a year, close to $550,000. If we were going to do a variable policy, close to $200,000 a year premium, $400,000 pre-tax, just to get close to that design. So here's what it looks like. And remember, we're using a life insurance policy as the asset. We're using bank financing as the catalyst to get the premiums in. So columns 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are life insurance policy details for a $5 million policy. And again, I don't think this is where we're going to stay. I think you're going to end up wanting more than this, but we're focusing on collateral. So $378,000 a year is the premium, but we're financing that in column 8 from a bank. They're loaning you the money, they're charging interest, and they want collateral. The first position of collateral that they're taking is column 6, which is the cash surrender value of the policy. That is the lien that they're taking. And then column 7 is the death benefit. It's the $5 million that we're starting with, plus the policy value of $310,000, which is why it's 5.3. Then we've got the loan details. They're financing the premiums in column 8. They're charging an interest rate in column 9. We can talk about that offline. Where did we get that number from? The dollar amount of the interest on the premium that they're borrowing in column 8 is column 10. And here I show you paying 10% down, 10% of the loan down every year of the premium. Or if they're loaning you $378,000, I show you paying $38,000 out of pocket. But this is the thing that I want to focus on, collateral. So column 14 is the gap collateral needed. And in this example, for a $5 million policy, the gap collateral is roughly $300,000 in year 4 and 5. And by the end of year 7, you're out of the collateral game. I want to focus on controlling your collateral exposure because I need to make sure, 1, you understand, which we'll get back into that. 2, you can qualify. 3, you can afford. So this is a $5 million policy. It would spit out roughly $196,000 a year income tax free, starting at your age 66, so retirement age. And the death benefit to your family after the loan is paid off in column 15 is a couple $1 million. Again, I know this is probably not exciting for you. So I did a $10 million design, which is double. So all the numbers are basically double. The out-of-pocket in column 12 is $76,000, not $38,000. This is a $10 million policy, not a $5 million policy. Your collateral bumps up to roughly a little over $600,000, where in the $5 million policy was right over $300,000. And your income is close to $400,000 a year tax-free. That's the equivalent of $800,000 a year in the state that you live in. So think about that. I mean, that's a sizable distribution, and your family's getting, $4 million when you die. But then if we go to a $15 million policy, and I think this is going to be more in lines with what you want to see, I show you paying $114,000 out of pocket. Now, you don't have to pay that. That's a negotiable number. You can do more, which would then reduce column 14 even more, or you can do less in column 12, which would increase the amount that you would have to pledge as collateral. And I know that's the discussion we have to have is around collateral. And I did a video not too long ago, another video that talked about the relationship between interest rates that the banks charge and the crediting rates that the policies can provide and what the historical should look like there. So we can have a discussion about that, but you should watch that video too. But in this $15 million policy, and I think this is kind of where we're going to want to be, $591,000 a year, income tax free every year, projected for the rest of your life starting at age 66. It's equivalent to 1.2, $1.3 million a year. That is a substantial retirement distribution that you could be taking out. And in this example, only putting in relative $114,000 a year for 10 years. Collateral doesn't quite get over $1 million, but I know you've got the collateral capacity for a little bit more than that, give us a little bit of buffer room. After you take all those distributions, and let's say you died at age 80, your family's still getting $6 million of tax-free liquidity into their estate, which is like a love letter that you're providing them. So I think this is where we want to go. Let's rekindle the conversation. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's set up a Zoom call. And we can either do 5, 10, 15, we can do other sizes, but I wanted you to see all three, the 5, the 10, the 15. I'll send this to you in the email as well as the video. Hope you like it. Let's set up a time to talk. Talk to you later. Bye.